us at this particular time, at this particular location, Elysian Fields and St. Paul Avenue. We know that there are many locations throughout the city that are filled with graffiti, and we take this very seriously as it relates to cleaning up our city, freeing it from litter, freeing it from graffiti, and any other, I would say, substances relative to debris in the city. This has been a priority for my administration for a long time. And I'm standing here with leadership, my CAO, Gilbert Montaño, in addition to my Deputy CAO of the Office of Business and External Services, Mr. Thomas Mulligan. Also joined by Safe Wash Solutions, Ms. Sienna and Mr. Mason McDaniel. Thank you so much for bidding to do the work on behalf of the residents of this city. We know that as we had this as a priority, we were faced with the challenges of literally having those respond to bids that we put out to provide this service for the city of New Orleans. Being relentless, I would say, in our ability to get a contractor on board, we went right back out. We not only did that, we met with potential vendors to get a better understanding of what could we do internally to make it a little bit more easier to not only respond to the bid, but to do work with the city of New Orleans. And going through that process, we have now landed, again, Safe Wash Solutions that are on the ground right now to begin to deliver services in the city of New Orleans, again, as it relates to graffiti removal, and best practices that we know that work nationally. We're wanting to deploy and get results on the ground in our city. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Gilbert to come forward. You're going to hear from Tom as well. We're just excited to be at this point in this process. And so with that, we'll hear from Gilbert, we'll hear from Tom, and then we're going to hear from our contractors who will be doing this work on behalf of the residents and, of course, the city of New Orleans. So Gilbert, come on up, and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mayor and Tom. Safe Wash Solutions. We've been so excited, eager to launch this program. This is not something that we thought of yesterday. When the mayor first took office, she charged the team with a Clean Up NOLA initiative to really ensure that we clean up the city, both from a ostensible perspective, but also some of our daily habits. Vandalism is something that affects neighborhoods, affects communities, affects businesses at many different levels. And there's, many of you know, called the broken glass theory. So one of the things we thought very germane and important is to ensure that graffiti abatement was part of the overall Cleaning Up the City initiative. Ensuring that neighborhoods could feel once again welcoming for those prospective businesses that are affected by the tagging that you see happening right now. It's so important for the revitalization. Today's a kickoff day that you'll see the team at work that has undergone a competitive process to ensure that we have a cleanup method that is what we hope is only the beginning. This is kind of an open-ended opportunity for the city to really embrace the changes associated with the removal of the graffiti. We will be establishing and have already launched a 311 app program, so we're encouraging residents to report graffiti. We've done a lot of the groundwork to find graffiti throughout the city. It wasn't hard, obviously, but we also need the community to report back to us where they want to see some of the tagging addressed. In combination of this, I know that there's a public art program that is working with private businesses that once the graffiti is removed, there's some public murals that is being provided, and I think you'll see that represented in this community too. And the idea behind that is creating a space besides a blank wall that embraces the community, much like you see along the walls of Chapatulas and places like that. So without further ado, thank you everybody, thank you Mayor again. It's an exciting, good day to be able to once again incrementally clean up the city as much as we possibly can. With that, I'll turn it back to the mayor or Tom or however you'd like to proceed.
No, thank you very much, Gilbert. Now, hearing from our residents, we know that code enforcement has been a priority, meaning to our people. And we have been able to invest very heavily in code enforcement. We have Mr. Mulligan who has been leading this charge and efforts across the board where we're seeing real results, well, relative whether it's blight and of course being just consistent in our practices. And graffiti removal is no other. What I would like to say, in terms of code enforcement, this is an example of how the city of New Orleans is working with our business community, not coming at them with the hammer, but coming at them with a real carrot. The graffiti removal that's on private buildings is something that we're taking off, and again, at no cost to that business owner. So when we look at Athlete's Foot right across here, and you see how that business has been tagged, and you see how beautiful it looks, meaning the building itself, but it really takes away when you see that it's tagged. Those are examples of what we will be addressing here with this graffiti removal or abatement program. Tom, come on forth and give it a little bit more meat on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I especially want to thank you for your support to this project and our code enforcement and anti-blight operations generally. So the mayor made fighting blight in our community and all the problems it causes for our businesses and residents a priority. And we have been aggressive and we have delivered results across the board. More blighted buildings demolished than ever before, more lots cut. A big $10 million anti-blight project was ready to go on day one. We're about $4 million into that project already. It had a nominal timeline of 3 years. We're going to get it done before then. And with that, we've stood up a new process to make sure that every dollar the city spends fighting blight is recouped, so that we both take down, say, a dangerous building and are made whole, the taxpayers made whole. So that's been an integral part of what we've been doing. One thing I've heard from a lot of people is these, what you might think more modest forms of blight, things like graffiti, what a harmful impact that can have on a business owner, a small business owner, on a neighborhood. So even as we go after the larger, more obvious forms of blight, even some of the properties that have been neglected for decades, and this administration is finally tackling them, taking them seriously, we are attentive to graffiti and other smaller nuisances that still can have a big effect. So we've developed new tools internally within code enforcement to fight graffiti. Very happy to have this new partnership with Safe Wash. And the one thing I wanted to mention is if you are a business or a residence that has been affected by graffiti and maybe you've received a notice from code enforcement, reach out to us. We want to be partners. 99% of the time it's not the business owner or the resident that tagged his or her property, but they are responsible under the law. But we want to work with those residents, those business owners. We have tools so that we can solve the problem and make it a win-win for everybody. And so I'm really encouraged by this new step, and I think it's going to be great for our communities.
Thank you so much, Tom. And so as you can see that our approach is one that is holistic, and as we celebrate or really just acknowledge 18 years since Hurricane Katrina, I think about my intentions in terms of being holistic, in terms of how we deal with blight eradication, how we deal with just revitalizing not only this corridor, but corridors throughout the city of New Orleans. You can't do it without strong partnership. And you can't do it without your business community. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Sienna. Thank you again for your partnership. I'm so proud. And of course, women-owned, that's a great thing as well, but of course in partnership with you as well, Mason. Right.
Well, thank you, everybody. We are extremely honored and excited to start this project because we know that graffiti has a negative impact on everybody, and we know that removing the graffiti will help start the process of making everything better for businesses and the citizens that live in this community. And we are very, very thankful to be working with the city. They have been absolutely wonderful to work with thus far, and we are here to support them in anything that they do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So with that, John, I'm going to turn it back over and we'll go through any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
It's graffiti removal.
WWL?
I have a question for Ms. McDaniel. Can you talk a little bit more about the importance of this partnership and whether you feel confident that the city is going to be paying you guys on time?
Yes, I feel very confident.
Come over here and get to the mic with that.
Yes, I absolutely think that they will. They've been so responsive, so professional. I can't see how they wouldn't. It's been such a joy working with everyone that we've been working with. And I can tell you from past experience, with some other contracts that we have with the city, they pay on time, every time. I hear the rumors out there also, and they just make me wonder because that's not my experience.
Well, it's good to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
WDSU.
How many business owners have already reached out, and how many do y'all expect to clean up? Like, how many buildings do y'all expect through this process?
So in regards to
It's going to be, I mean, hundreds, if not thousands. It's pretty much everywhere, and we knew that there was a lot of graffiti to begin with, but until we actually started surveying the areas and taking the measurements and doing it, we just didn't realize how much there was. So there's a good bit of work to be done. Yeah, we're ready to jump on.
One more question.
Well, in addition to that, just creating, a path forward, as Gilbert mentioned, ensuring that 311 is set up and able to receive feedback directly from the public, and those areas will be embedded in our process. This is an ongoing graffiti abatement program that I hope that lives on with this city literally for years to come. We know that with graffiti, it is changing the behaviors of people. And trash in this city, it's about changing the behaviors of people. And it takes time, but when we demonstrate consistency in our approach to mitigate and abate, we know also that changes the behavior. So we're in it for the long haul.
WGNO, and then I want y'all to talk to them after this is a little hot.
Okay.
So I'll make them available to you after.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing.
Go ahead,
Oh, no,
Jeff.
it's yours.
Oh, it's me. Okay. I'm so sorry. Does this include graffiti that's on street signs, telephone poles, abandoned buildings? And my understanding about buildings that are abandoned, the city will reach out to the owners. If they do not respond, they will bill them the cost of that on their tax bill. Can you confirm that?
So first of all, as it relates to any areas that are tagged with graffiti, will be a focus and a priority for this graffiti abatement program. The goal is to ensure that this city is cleaner, that also demonstrates that we are a place to do business, as well as a safe and vibrant community and city to live in. So again, holistic approach, wanting to change behaviors, and yes, all areas where things are tagged will be a priority. As it relates to, you asked me about, what's the other part of that?
About blighted buildings, you reach out to owners. If they do not respond, you will clean it up and bill them on their tax bill.
Right, so as Tom mentioned, that we always, in terms of a part of our process, is to reach out to property owners. We believe, that if they can self-correct, that's great for everyone. But with this particular program and the graffiti abatement program, we're going to demonstrate to residents, both on the private side and the commercial side, that we want to work with. It's a partnership. Do the right thing, but again, with this, we're wanting to work in the spirit of partnership.
And if they don't, what action can you take?
Well, it allows us to put a lien on the property. And so these are methods that are ongoing. It's something that we do, but as it relates to this particular program, we're wanting to create that win-win, right? That's the goal.
Thank you all.
All right,
They're
thank
going to
you.
start the abatement